It sounds to me that in that situation that you were describing, that you truly felt engaged though with the team, and that
Yeah,
they
no,
would
there
bring you in. That's important.
it is. It
You-
is super important because I think that too often legal departments seem to behave as an island unto themselves, and that does them a disservice and does their business a disservice. And so the way to overcome that is to build in trust, build in work on relationship building, and let other functions in and be collaborative and understand that contracting and or loitering in a business is a cross-functional exercise, and it's not just something for legal to handle on its own. Not to mention the fact that legal is only aware of what it's aware of. It's not aware of what it isn't aware of. And to overcome that requires transparency and trust. And that starts with, I think, being really open about what you're doing and seeking to learn from others in terms of what they do and why they do what they do.
that's the transparency and trust. Relationship building. Um, to me, that sounds like some of the best sales leaders that I've had when I was leading a large organization within legal tech. They would invite the legal department to their team meetings with their managers, where they could actually hear the priorities and the initiatives. So the legal department could hear that. And they also had the ability to speak on it so that they could do some correcting if needed, in real time to those leaders. And that created a collaborative environment that was building trust, building a relationship. And when everyone would walk away from those meetings, they would understand, including the legal department, here are the top, let's say, key clients that are going to be going through the renewal process within the next 2 quarters. So hey CJ, why don't you go ahead and send me those contracts from the past 3 or 4 different renewal periods, right? So that I can have it already and take a look at it and see the changes that were made, so we can anticipate potentially, the conversation that we'll have if we have to go through, some redlining on the contract and things of that nature. So that I think that's truly important. Let me switch gears here, because I know that I see you with a lot of different posts, on AI, and I know that you have your fingers on top of what's happening within the legal community from an AI perspective. What excites you most about AI and legal tech in 2024?
So I think the most exciting thing for me is the fact that we're on this journey and that we're at the early stages where we're able to experiment and iterate and learn a lot. And I think that's a lot of fun and exciting, at least in my view. And I think what's even more exciting is the ability to sort of exert a degree of creativity and control over use of these tools that we didn't have before. I'm thinking along the lines of things like legal agents, where you can create sort of a, little automated process that can create something for you automatically or review a certain thing automatically. That is really impactful because if you think about it, if you can build a number of those, then you can build sort of this whole automated process that you can, review, but you don't really have to be consumed with doing in terms of thinking about how to create it and then, being involved with every step of the process, which means that your time is better spent on things that are likely going to be more valuable as opposed to on these sort of repetitive tactical things that, a legal agent could possibly do for you. And I think that's really exciting. At the same time, I think, again, it's important to remember that we're in early stage with this. So AI is continuing to evolve. Um, it will continue to grow more powerful, but it also will continue to make mistakes. It's imperfect. And so I think we have to be aware that these tools are powerful, but they're not perfect. And so we need to be open to understanding that it's not always going to get something right, much like humans don't always get something right. So I think, going in with sort of that eyes wide open approach, I think will leave us in a good place, but it definitely is an exciting time, particularly given how sort of accessible these AI powered tools are now.
Mhm, mhm. I agree. I think when you talk about exciting times, I think that we will see. I'm predicting that we will see. Obviously, the that I think the legal department is going to get a lot more busy with sales professionals knocking on their door, and I think that from my background, I saw when the business moved from focusing on litigation practice areas, right, with solutions there, to what we would have considered at that time transactional type work, which they would put the legal department there. Um, with the development of like practical guidance type solutions, and then you had solutions that were bolted onto Microsoft Office, right, helping with drafting and things of that nature. And it was that there was a huge opportunity within legal tech that you know general counsel had needs that were not being met, and that the company starts saying, hey, we can deliver solutions to meet these needs and grow profit at the same time. When you think about the different tactical processes that AI will be used to solve, what are some of the common use cases that you see that pretty much come to mind?
Yeah, I think that there is a number. One certainly is the summarization of documents. That is, I think, a very powerful use case currently because humans certainly capable of doing that work, but it's time consuming for us. And for an AI solution, it's incredibly easy because it's just data. It's just a lot of data, and they can just quickly review it and summarize it for you. So that is number one. Number two, I think, is um, brainstorming, coming up with ideas, outlining a potential process, and then you're able to iterate on it and improve it. I think that's another powerful use case because we often can think about processes, but again, these tools, you provide it with an input and it can just run with that input and do that pretty quickly. I also think that certainly, reviewing information and or providing analysis of such information can be pretty useful as well. Whether it is a text document, a bunch of data, or what have you, that's definitely, I think, a powerful use case. Um, I will also say, sort of as corollary, that while these are powerful use cases, one that I think people use AI for fairly often right now, and it's not necessarily the best use case, is sort of writing something as your own. Because these tools are very structured, it tends to write in a very structured, very predictable way, which doesn't necessarily reflect your writing style. So while it's great at creating like a draft of something, it's not necessarily great at creating the final draft of something. So I think that's important to keep in mind.
Mm. Perfect. That's awesome. Colin, for a lot of companies that are working to resolve the issues and that the workflow issues that the legal department has, many of the sales professionals and marketing professionals, they do not have a legal background, so that they don't have a JD, right? Or they are not paralegals, but they do have access to their own GC. Um, what would you say if would be a best practice to learn more about what's happening in the legal departments? What are ways that if you were thinking about if you didn't have a JD, how would you learn? I know one of my answer is going to be obviously buy your book. I'm just going to throw that out there because this book to me is like one of the biggest springboards that a person can take. But in addition to the book that you wrote, what would you say would be like best ways for them to learn about the legal department and learn about the people that they'll be talking to?
So I think one of the best ways will be to reach out to, depending on the size of the legal department, someone in the legal department who works closest with your particular area, and just ask for a few moments of the time, 5, 10 minutes, what have you, for them to just kind of sit down with you and explain kind of how they work, what they do, and for you to kind of take that in and then ask questions to further educate yourself. Because I think that one of the best ways for anyone to learn about something else is to listen to those who are actually doing it. That's how I learned about legal tech. That's how I've learned about other parts of the business that I was a part of and what they did and how they worked. And it kind of has knockoff effects, meaning that when you do that, you're not just learning about what they do, but you're also building a relationship with them, which down the line can be really helpful. So that would be my probably number one suggestion.
That I love that because it goes back to one of the sayings, to be interesting, you have to be interested. So you need to be interested in that person that you're talking to, and that goes along beyond just their legal department, but also the customers that they'll be talking with about their solutions. Where can people find you? And I've been talking about the book, and purchase this book.
Sure. So I'm found in a lot of different places. First of all, the book is widely available on Amazon, so that's your probably number one go-to place to get the book. So in terms of connecting with me, I'm on LinkedIn under my name, so feel free to connect with me there. I'm also on Twitter/X at @CLevy_law. That's CLEVY_LAW. You can also find me on my website, colinslevy.com. That's COLINSLEVY.com. And if you have any interest in photos of cats, I'm also on Instagram, where I frequently post photos of my cats.
That's awesome. I want to thank you so much for being generous with your time, sharing your insights. It's always great talking to you, and I really appreciate what you're doing in our legal community and the value that you bring. You are one of the many special talents that I say that we have that are amplifying a voice in legal tech and in the legal community. And I want you to continue to do that because you're needed, and it's very refreshing. And in your perspective pushes us forward. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. And as I, have said before, my role here is to inform and inspire others, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity. And it was a great conversation. So thank you again.
Thank you.